It's hot now. The sun is high in the Jericho sky. The huge crowd gathered around Jesus seems to propel him forward, regardless of where he might want to go. Suddenly, though, despite the surging crowd, Jesus manages a full stop and spies Zacchaeus high up in a sycamore tree. And all of a sudden, something happens in the meeting of their eyes. Something happens the moment Jesus casts his gaze upon Zacchaeus straddling the tree branch. And Zacchaeus can feel it. Zacchaeus can feel the teacher knocking at the door of his hardened heart. Opposite poles are meeting. And something deep inside Zacchaeus is about to change. The hard clay shell that he's managed to build around his heart all these years is starting to show hairline cracks. His need to rejoin his community, to find forgiveness, and thus end the rejection he has suffered all these years as a tax collector and a Roman collaborator. It's all coming sharply into focus now. Jesus' eyes are locked on his. And with the words, "Hurry down, Zacchaeus, because I must stay in your house today," everything in Zacchaeus' world is turned upside down. Or depending on your point of view, right side up. In a loud yet kind voice, which everyone can hear, Jesus declares his intention to befriend this curious little man. We don't know if Jesus said anything more than, "I must stay in your house today." We don't know exactly how Jesus brought change into Zacchaeus' life. What happens between a man and his God often lies outside our sphere of understanding. But what we do know from the story is that Zacchaeus came down from the tree a changed man. No longer curious, Zacchaeus commits himself wholeheartedly to sharing his wealth with the poor and to paying restitution to all the people he has wronged. And as Zacchaeus comes down from the tree, he can feel the welcome that Jesus extends to him. Long despised by his peers, he can feel the love the Master is showing him. Despite the jeers from the crowd, Zacchaeus knows that with time and with change in behavior and a different outlook, the community will eventually forgive him and receive him. Despite the growing pains he will be forced to endure, he's learned a valuable lesson. He has learned that people are more important than things, and that love shared is the holy glue that binds us together and gives each one of us that deeper meaning to this life. As Zacchaeus comes down from the tree, he can feel his emptiness being filled, his restlessness being calmed, and his wisdom being grown. Ashley Montague once wrote, "Every human being is a problem in search of a solution." I prefer something a bit different. I suggest that every human being is a student in need of a lesson. And in light of this, let me give some of Sherry Carter Scott's excellent rules for being human, some of which I've modified a tad just to provide a more Christian tone. Carter Scott writes, "You will receive a body. You may like it or you may hate it, but it will be yours for the entire period of this time around. You will learn lessons. By God's design, you are enrolled in a full-time, informal school called life. Each day in this school, you will have the opportunity to learn lessons. Some lessons you may like, others you may find irrelevant and stupid. There are no mistakes, only lessons. Growth is a process of trial and error, of experimentation. The failed experiments are as much a part of the process as the experiment that ultimately works. Number 4, a lesson is repeated until it is learned. A lesson will be presented to you in various forms until you have learned it. When you have learned it, then you go on to the next lesson. Number 5, learning lessons does not end. There is no part of life that does not contain its lessons. If you are alive, then there are lessons to be learned. And number 6, what you make of your life is up to you. You have all the tools and the resources you need right now. And what you do with them is up to you. The choice is yours. It is mine. Number 7, your answers lie inside you. Your answers to life questions for you, your life questions, lie inside you. They're written on your heart. Jesus knocks, but it's up to you to pull open the door. And the final rule, you're going to forget everything I said. You will forget these rules. You're human like me. But try to remember this. Try to remember this. The mechanics of life, how things hang together, how they work in the cosmos, I believe were established by God at the beginning of time. And for reasons known only to God, we're all students of life in that cosmos. Perched high in our trees, anxious to learn more about what it means to live a God-centered life, we search for answers that God has already placed on our hearts. We already know. They're in there. Up and down the tree we go, anxious to learn, anxious to catch just one more glimpse of the holy. Up and down. We hear at the door of our heart. The Master is once again inviting us into the holy. And it's not a tough door to open. It's not hard to let the Master in. Remember, He'll always be pushing ever so gently from the other side. Amen.